Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Serge,
My name is James.
if you didn't know already. So, another week in Sky is done. Another very interesting week ahead of us because of just how many days of football and how many games per day we have, which we're going to get into. But yeah, meh.
What happens? You were like, oh, I'm just here for the comedy. You said to me before we pressed
Well,
record.
look, I've been pretty good this season with captains, but on Friday night, I didn't get to leave work till about 6:30, and my phone was low on battery. So when I got home at 6:30, I went upstairs and put it on charge, and I didn't go and get it again till 8:05. So your Sky reminder message I missed, and I hadn't got Patricio captain. First one of the season, I think I've missed. Might be the second. First or second, but I mean, look, to be fair, compared to last season, I think just 2 in a year's an improvement. But I missed my captain. Fine, I'll take that on the chin.
We're totaling this. That's 11 points. That's cost you. Yeah, next.
Yeah. And then to be a Dallas owner and a Lingard owner, and I mean, to be fair, Lingard's ownership massively shot up on Sunday, and to make no headway it was frustrating. And then on Sunday, on the Monday, obviously, like, who's your captain? I thought, well, I need coverage for the Arsenal game for Everton coming up as well. So it's got to be an Everton striker. DCL's cheaper than Richarlison by a little bit, and I quite fancy a bit of DCL. So let me go DCL and captain him. He didn't even turn up, did he? And I thought that by making that decision quite late, maybe I had missed some news or something. You reassured me that I hadn't. So I didn't beat myself too much about that, but it felt basically like, okay, in one instance, I shot myself in the foot with Patricio, I get it. But to own two differential players, well, Dallas' differential player, Lingard maybe less so, and not make any headway was rather disappointing.
What's Dallas's ownership now, Suj?
In the top 1,000, Stuart Dallas ownership is 17.5%.
Okay. I wonder if that might jump again a little bit on Monday night when they play Liverpool, possibly. So what did you finish on for the week, and where are you?
72 points. I'm at 1,300 overall. It's just been 1,300 for weeks and weeks and weeks, mate. I'm not going backwards, but I'm not going forwards. That's the problem. And I don't mind it. It's just fine. I'm still kind of finding my way in this game a little bit and learning my playing style. But it was disappointment. Kevin De Bruyne not playing was a bit of a frustration. But I'm not going to waste a transfer getting him out or whatever, am I? So when he wasn't in the starting lineup, Cancelo and Stones were. I wasn't going to waste a transfer on Kevin De Bruyne. The only transfer I made all week was getting DCL in on Monday night for Antonio.
It feels like a week that it could have been very, very easy to do badly. Okay. We had a tip-off on Thursday night from one of our patrons that Adarabioyo wasn't going to be in the Fulham team. You could have been going into that game going, I've got Adarabioyo. And then thinking, do you make a transfer or do you just skip it? It says very easily you got 0 on Friday night. On Saturday, it's every chance you'd go into the City game with no coverage from City, with like Ruben Diaz left out, for example, Gundogan left out, De Bruyne left out. You could very easily have had those 3 City players and going, what do we do? Probably falling onto Azpilicueta as a fullback as one possible option. I know a lot of people went with Salah and stuff. So it could have been very easy to get. You could have been
Cancelo.
Yeah, exactly. Or that. Like if you'd seen Cancelo in the team, I went with Stones. Cancelo get passing even.
He got tackle tier, I think, and he got a yellow. Goals conceded -1. He got tackle tier 1.
Okay.
So it was a 3-pointer.
I went with Stones to passing tier 2. So, but it was, even Azpilicueta, like how did Chelsea concede the one effort they conceded on goal? Azpi obviously cleaned up in the passing tier. So a lot of people would have probably missed the captaincy on Saturday. Ideally, actually, Salah would have been the best choice. Fernandes and Kane obviously both blank Sunday.
Yep.
And then on Monday night, mate, the majority of people will have captained Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So suddenly you look across that and go 4 captains. You could have very easily, between them, picked up sort of 10, 12 points between your 4 captains or so. So it very easily could have been a really bad week for a lot of people. And then if for example, people didn't already own Lingard or bought Lingard on Sunday, like the majority of people did, another 17 points cost on you. So there's some people this weekend, trust me, have had an absolute nightmare, unfortunately. 87 points for myself. Doesn't sound like the best week, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it's actually all right this week. So Patricio, obviously captaincy Friday night, 22 points. As I said, I went with Stones on Saturday. I have no Liverpool or Chelsea. So it was fairly straightforward for me in terms of what I was doing, because I had Stones, Diaz and Gundogan, who was the only City player who was playing. And I did speak last week about the fact that Leeds might be changing a bit and not to fear the potential of the passing tiers against them for the big clubs. Sunday, I went with Bruno because I was convinced of what United would do to Spurs. Did you see it? And obviously, Monday fell into my lap a little bit and became a real differential for me, because I decided I was going with Lewis Dunk, as I said last Wednesday anyway, to kind of punt against Everton and Calvert-Lewin as a differential, doubling down on the fact I never bought Azpilicueta 2 weeks ago. And it obviously worked out, 9-pointer. So those 18 points were a real bonus for me. It's
so yeah, if I finished on 72 and I'd captained Patricio, I'd have been on 83. So I'd only been four points behind you for the game week.
Well, have you got Lingard?
Right. Yeah, and Dallas. Right.
Okay.
So that's what kept me.
Kept you up. Yeah.
So you're
that's what I'm saying.
Now,
you take those two players out.
Oh, Dominic.
Exactly, right?
You'd be looking for a new co-host on this pod, tell me.
I wouldn't, because it's too funny having you with me, mate.
Yeah. You know what? As much as I sat down in dumps and frustrated, I'm enjoying it. I don't want to make it sound like I want to quit playing or anything like that. No. But it's just re-emphasizing the point that making progress when you're up at the top there is quite hard. A lot of good content and a lot of good players up there in the top 1,000, 2,000 really now. And it's a difficult game. It's not like it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Not that we were playing 3 or 4 years ago, but
this game is going to get harder every year, I'm telling you, because players are going to get better. I mean, this season is much better for you than it was last season, right?
Massively better. I feel like I've made progress. That's all you can ask for. So, next season, Champions League and all that. I don't know. So, tell me.
I've got a bloody nose. I'm up to 49th.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many off the top 10 and top are you?
Oh, no, I can't win it. That's still, I mean, I think the guy who's top, Michael Shipley, I think he might even be further ahead of me than he was before the weekend, actually, ironically. I'm on 2009. I'm at 71. He's on 3,095. So it's 124 points. So.
It's a lot. But if you win some cash mini leagues, that'll.
Well, I'm doing really well in them. So, yeah. And it would be great to finish in the top 50, push towards top 25 or so, maybe it's possible. But shooting right for the top. No, I mean, he's actually got over Darren Slater's 2 teams. He's got a lead of 41 points now. And he's really going to be thinking, I'm winning this. He's just got to cover off those big captaincies, and he's probably going to take it home from there, actually.
Nice. Looking good.
So, yeah, went all right. I mean, but if you take away, for example, the Patricio and Dunk points for me, very easily could have been in a situation where I say Adarabioyo and Calvert-Lewin instead. And I think if I'd have been in that position looking at Adarabioyo Friday night, I'd have possibly skipped. To be honest, I think I probably would have bought Patricio. I'd have ended up doing that anyway. But very easily could have not had any of those points at all. That's 40 less points. And instead of being 49th, I'm probably 149th or something, right? So fine margins. There's going to be risk taking for me this coming week with captaincies that are possibly going to be a little bit different to other people by the sheer fact of doing nothing. This week, those different ones like Dunk have obviously done me some good. Next week, I'm going to swing with Dunk again against Chelsea. And that's very easily going to come back and bite me if Chelsea go and win 2-3-0 or something, and everyone else is on Aspi and he starts. It's going to bite me. I'm sitting there hoping that Azpilicueta gets a break, right? And Brighton can rock out another 0-0. That'll do me fine.
I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing this week, but you're going to help me and the listeners. There's a handful of our regular patrons and listeners who are up there in the echelons of the top 100, but there's plenty of listeners that are in my world of 1,000, top 2.5, 3,000, something like that. We've got a really elongated game week with loads of matches over different days. Luckily, I think the way they're spread with the teams, the coverage on captaincies isn't going to be too difficult, or people aren't going to need to burn too many transfers. But if you're in a situation like me with 9 transfers or what have you, I'll be honest with you, this doesn't feel like the week to be trying to make gains because of the way the fixtures are spread out. So is it a case of just make sure you're covered off, but don't try and attack the next 7 days? Am I right in my thinking?
Yeah, I think you're just about there. Basically, you look at the clubs that you're going to need the coverage for, right? It's majority of the big clubs. I mean, everyone's going to buy a Leicester player, at least one on Thursday, for example. So don't worry about the fact you're not
That's the
sitting
only
there.
one that I need to do. Yeah,
Same as me. Everyone's sitting there ready to go for it. It's just a case of waiting for that team against West Brom and then deciding from there. I should say I bought Lingard and Rob Holding on Sunday.
Okay.
For John Stones and Watkins, who obviously
Rob Holding must have cleaned up passing.
Both returned. Nah.
Oh.
Nah.
He didn't.
Nah. 7-pointer, mate.
How did he get 2 BPS in FPL then? That's mad.
Different fucking game, mate.
I thought, yeah, but if you're in a game where a striker scored so many goals and the attacking returns were there, for a defender to get 2 BPS, I thought it's because he'd completed a lot of passes. And that's why he did pick them up. And I thought, Sky, he must have cleaned up, but clearly not.
No, to be honest, Arsenal didn't have a lot of the ball at the back. They obviously had a lot of the ball, but it was actually in higher areas of the pitch. And the centre-backs didn't see too much of it. So listen, I'm not going to complain about buying a 6.4 million defender and he brings me 7 points.
You did do COTC with Tomo for a release tomorrow. Just tell me, how is he? Is he all right?
That COTC tomorrow, Wolves v Sheffield United, is a laugh a minute, mate. We talk about fantasy assets for about 2 minutes, and then
I'm looking forward to it.
And
Let's give it a plug.
I butchered the 2 of them basically. But we bring a bit of Tottenham into the conversation as well. We all get a bit sad, all 3 of us.
Sounds fun. So there's a heads up on Sheffield United there for tomorrow.
So even that, if I decided not to pull the trigger, and this is quite an interesting debate because I obviously went against the majority of people not buying a Chelsea player a couple of weeks ago, which has kind of worked. So I could see some people say, why did you buy Lingard this week if again you're trying to swim against? And I knew it. The majority of people were going to buy Lingard on Sunday. It was clearly obvious with the game Sunday. Then covered a Newcastle game on Saturday as well, which for a brief period over the weekend, because of Prince Philip's sad death, looked like the Wolves Sheffield United game might move. So the West Ham game might only be the only game on the Saturday for a brief period. I think the difference in it is midfielder. Simple as that. Just looking at the value was almost irrelevant to me because I genuinely am, as I said last week that I might be sitting there with 9.1 million in the bank, can't even fucking spend it. So the value was immaterial. But midfield has been such a problem area this year to then identify and go, do you know what? That guy really can sit there till the end of the season. Allows me to move off Gundogan, for example. It was just such an obvious move. So that's why I felt this was the time you have to go with it, as opposed to when I decided to go against Azpilicueta. I'd have less points at the moment if I'd bought Azpilicueta rather than Dunk. Just on the sheer basis already that I would have captained Dominic Calvert-Lewin on Monday night, like the majority of other people. It's just crazy how the game, that's luck, right? There's no skill in that. That's luck for me that Calvert-Lewin didn't turn up. If Calvert-Lewin plays, there's every chance Everton score and Brighton don't get the clean sheet as well, right? So bought the 2 of them. So I'm down to 6 transfers now. In terms of what's to come, obviously you got Kane's going to cover you 2 games. Lingard is now going to cover 60% of the game for Saturday, which probably makes him a more sensible captaincy choice than Patricio, in spite of the fact they're playing Sheffield United. Because Patricio's season is probably a 9-pointer on that, whereas Lingard doesn't seem to have a particular season at the moment.
Yeah, so if we go day by day, so Friday, Kane, Saturday, Lingard.
I haven't decided yet. I might punch with Patricio on Saturday, but I think the sensible play is to go Lingard, and that's probably what I'm going to. He's just in too good form at the moment. I think I'll go with Lingard probably. Yeah.
Sunday, Bruno.
Yeah, there's no overthinking needed for the first 3 days, to be honest. And there isn't overthinking for the days to come afterwards either.
Yeah. Monday, Leeds, Liverpool. I mean, it's the only game. So again, you're going to see the teams before you have to make a decision. You said you don't own any Liverpool assets at the moment. What's your plan?
It's dependent on what happens at the weekend. I.e., there's teams playing FA Cup semi-finals, where league games. So if I pick up an injury of any sort, it probably is entry into Liverpool for me Monday night. If that's the case, I will probably buy defensive. I mean, I'll probably go with Trent. I can afford it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really want to just chase everyone else again with Salah, for example. If I go Jota, because I've got Kane and Calvert-Lewin as well, and I'd be a bit loath to sell Calvert-Lewin when I might need him for coverage on the Friday night, for example. I think it would lead me towards a defensive player and probably Trent. So I don't want to block myself off of Iheanacho Vardy on Thursday, depending on which one I decide I want to go with. So I think it would have to be defensive, but I'm likely to probably skip it and just go Rafinha if he's fit. If Rafinha's not fit, I imagine he will be, then I will buy probably Trent, I should think. What's annoying me about Liverpool is it's not the Monday game that's annoying me. It's the fucking Saturday game against Newcastle. But then the influence on that might be whether they overturn the Champions League game tonight or not.
Yeah, of course.
If they turn that around, they've got Champions League on the Tuesday after Newcastle, and I'm buying Trent on the Monday, thinking that part covers me Saturday as well. What's to say he won't get a break against Newcastle?
Yeah.
So I'm intending probably to skip it. I do think they'll probably go out tonight. That might open up the idea of going back. It'd be Trent for me if I buy it. Otherwise, I'll swing with Rafinha.
I've got Dallas and Jota in that game. Now, look, if Jota starts, straightforward, Jota's captain. If Jota doesn't start and is on the bench, strangely, I still feel like Jota off the bench could have a higher ceiling than Dallas. But I'll probably just go with Dallas. There's every chance as well of Liverpool winning 2-0 or 3-0 that Jota doesn't get on the pitch. So, yeah, I think Jota doesn't start.
Jota will get on.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
I mean, I think it probably starts, to be honest with you, Serge, anyway. But
if it starts, this solves the problem.
I mean, we'll get a better idea of that after tonight. But I think in the case of whichever Liverpool forward is left out, if they're going to stick with a 4-3-3, the guy that's left out is probably going to get on the pitch. And we've seen Salah and Jota both do bits as substitutes this year. It's every case to say don't bother.
Yeah. On the Tuesday night, I own Azpilicueta, as many people do, so easy coverage for me. I'm assuming you're swinging with Lewis Dunk, who
I'm definitely, as long as he hasn't picked up an injury between now and next Tuesday, I'm definitely going to swing with Lewis Dunk again on Tuesday. And I realised that's the one where everything I've made up on Dunk over Azpilicueta could come crashing down around me. If Asby suddenly gets a 20-pointer times 2, I'll say I'm fucked tonight. But no, I'm going to swing with it. I think part of it as well is I don't think there's any guarantees that the likes of Aspi or Rudiger or whatever alternative you want, I don't think there's any guarantee they play next Tuesday, actually. So then they've got West Ham on the Saturday, following obviously playing Man City in the FA Cup semi-final this Saturday. The rotation game is probably this, isn't it? It's probably the Brighton game, because the West Ham game's so important for the top 4 race, right?
Massive.
Which is different to the kind of thinking of Liverpool playing Newcastle on the Saturday and that being relative to them playing in the Champions League the week after. That West Ham game is still way important for Chelsea for what happens next season. Liverpool will think whatever team they put on the pitch should beat Newcastle. No guarantees, obviously. So, I mean, what would you do come Tuesday night, Serge, if Azpi's not in the Chelsea team?
I'll make a move to get captaincy coverage. But it's kind of sort of dictated on what I want to do with the team moving forward. I'd like to get a midfielder in because I'm on a 4-3-3 at the moment, so I'd like to get to a 3-4-3 rather than sideways move to a different defender. So I think I might look at Mason Mount, if I'm honest with you. I might just go Azpilicueta to Mount and captain Mount.
I think it might solve a midfield problem for a lot of people if that's the case. To go Mason Mount, and I think a little bit like Lingard, you just stomach that then. He's basically, him and Azpilicueta are first names on the team sheet for Chelsea at the moment, and I just look at him and think you could probably leave him there for the rest of the season, suck it up. You're probably not going to need to captain him too much. At 8.6, you'd argue ordinarily too expensive, but I think money is not a problem for Sky managers at the moment. So I think Mount would be the fallback option. Any thought to skip it if Azpi didn't play?
I've got 9 transfers, so no.
What would you say to someone who's got 4 or 5 left?
Skippable.
I think so.
Skippable in the sense that Brighton are good, so I wouldn't feel 100% confident on a Chelsea clean sheet. And Chelsea going forward, they had a good game the other day, but also I don't see it being a high-scoring one for Chelsea or a comfortable 3-0 win. I think just like a 1-0 or a 2-1 or a scrappy affair. So it's unpredictable for me. I mean, obviously, I hope that Brighton smash them, to be honest with you. So,
Me too.
yeah. Yeah, no offense to the Chelsea fans as well, top four. So I hope Brighton win. So yeah, I don't think it's as straightforward. I'm looking at it here. I mean, Sky in front of me shows the odds 5-1 Brighton, 4-7 Chelsea.
Could be interesting that as a price if the Chelsea
5-1
team's weak for whatever reason.
5-1 seems generous, right, to me.
I think you would expect, if we were looking at it now in all seriousness, we would expect Chelsea, like you said, probably to win 1 or 2-0. It's generally what we'd expect. I think if you've only got, say, 4 or 5 left, and Azpilicueta wasn't in the team, and let's be honest, he nearly always is, I think it becomes skippable because so many other people will panic and possibly make a bad move. And you've still got Azpilicueta for future, which is good coverage of Chelsea. Do you want to go into a Brighton player? You could make a case that because of Brighton's following fixture, which I think we'll come on to in a sec as well, that you could dive on and off. But then if you're limited for transfers, I don't think you want to do that. So I see it being skippable for a lot of people if Azpilicueta wasn't in that team. I think the only reason he wouldn't be in the team is if the Cup semi-final went to extra time and he played all of it.
Yeah, I could see that. Wednesday, Tottenham have got the home game against Southampton, early kickoff, so you know the team. Well, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't really matter if you know the Tottenham team because it's Kane or not, and Kane's going to be playing, I guarantee you that much. So
I wouldn't guarantee it.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting.
No, just a little bit like what we said on our podcast yesterday is I think if Tottenham lose on Friday night and the other guys in challenging for Europe, i.e. West Ham, Liverpool, Chelsea all win beforehand, then I think there's a possibility Tottenham go, well, this league season is completely finished. Everton would then be above us with a game in hand as well. And is there then at that point a case to say, okay, rest them for the cup final rather than play them against Southampton? So what's interesting about it is the idea that let's say we get to Wednesday and a majority of people just got Kane. Let's say, in fact, let's do this. Let's take it my way. I got Vestergaard still, and he's going to Leicester next Thursday. Vestergaard's in the Southampton team. Kane have picked a Mickey Mouse team. Tottenham have picked a Mickey Mouse team with no Kane, no Son. And I've got Gundogan and Diaz, but no knowledge of the Man City team. And they both played 120 minutes against Chelsea the weekend before and have got their own cup final to prepare for. You captain Vestergaard. If Kane and Son aren't in the Tottenham team, do you captain Vestergaard in that case?
Well, I think most people have I think City's fixture against Villa is a better... Like, I would, in normal circumstance, rather captain a City player. But I also feel like Tottenham have the advantage of knowing the team, and you need to win that game against Southampton to keep your hopes of top 4 alive. So
it might be gone by the point the game comes around. That's what I'm saying. And that might change the thinking.
Yeah. And I also think, depending on what happens with City in their cup semi-final, if they breeze through and De Bruyne comes off after 60 minutes or something like that, and I feel confident if I feel really confident De Bruyne is going to play, I would be tempted in De Bruyne. But I think Spurs will still have top 4 to play for, maybe. It's a difficult one here.
What about just backing Kane anyway? Thinking, he'll get half hour. Yeah.
I mean, Kane's Kane, right? I reckon I'd 60-40 Kane versus De Bruyne. I don't know. It's a difficult one, that one.
I think I'm preempting something that probably won't happen, and I expect to be captain Kane, obviously, on Wednesday. Obviously, if he's in the team, he gets the armband. There's no... Because you ain't seen the Man City team. It's really difficult to debate what the alternatives are when Southampton look shocking defensively at the moment. And it might be, they might beat Leicester in their own semi-final at the weekend, and it brings them a bit of form and a bit of pressure off towards the end of the season. They were so bad at West Brom Monday night. I mean, Vestergaard's got to go. There's a case to say that could he even go for me beforehand? I think no, because I think he's been nowhere near passing tiers lately, but I feel like any defender's got a possibility of passing tiers against Tottenham, right? So I think he'll stay with me for the Tottenham game. Then he's definitely going to a Leicester player on the Thursday.
Okay, interesting. And obviously the Thursday night, I mean, it's a Leicester player. I think the one I'd like to maybe think about is Ricardo Pereira or James Maddison. But the question is, who do I sell? I think it would be one of my Man City assets in Stones or Cancelo that I give up. Because I don't want to be getting rid of Kane, Calvert-Lewin, Jota, Fernandes, De Bruyne, Lingard. So I think it'll be Stones or Cancelo, and I'll end up going with Ricardo Pereira.
Pereira's played in Leicester's last 5 league games. Do you know how many points he's got?
Nah, actually, I haven't looked, and I
Go
was
on.
going to look and be curious how many he got.
Have a
against us
stab.
this weekend. 5 league games. 20.
8.
Oh,
That's
okay.
just 8, by the way, not 28.
Yeah.
Not great, mate. Only tackled here in one of them, I think. No, not even a tackle tier in any of them. He's a king of tackle tiers, isn't he? Maybe playing wing backs actually affecting that. There is an assist in there, but they've been conceding goals as well, right? It's worth saying, like, you know, Sheffield United at home, starting 11. He came off at half time, didn't he? So that would have been obviously a clear clean sheet. He came off at half time. He was sub against Manchester City, I think, and came on. So it's not as bad as it sounds, but I don't know if there's justification to be buying him at the moment when Siyunchu is obviously a lot more expensive than, say, last year. You got Fofana at 6.1. I think if you're struggling for money, Fofana's very straightforward. I think for me, I could see me going Siyunchu actually. Just lock in them regular passing tiers, which you'll have in these next 4 games for Leicester. Maddison, I'm very interested in if he's back in the team. I think the one that's going to get bulked massively is Iheanacho. I think that there's enough now to say, and he's great price in Sky as well. There's enough now to suggest that Vardy is not worth the 2.4 million more. But then because of that, once it comes round, I might take a view to go eat Vardy rather than Iheanacho. But I think Iheanacho is potentially such a great asset in Sky and always possibly has been because he's such a greedy fucker.
Yeah, he gets a lot of shots off. I agree with you on that for sure. I think it also Dominic Calvert-Lewin's situation will affect my decision on my Leicester asset because if I know Calvert-Lewin's out for a longer period, then it makes it an easy move to get rid of Dominic Calvert-Lewin for Iheanacho. If Dominic Calvert-Lewin's back, because I don't need Calvert-Lewin for captaincy coverage other than the Arsenal game, I'll just solve that problem when I get to it further down the road with a different transfer. So then Iheanacho to Calvert-Lewin to Iheanacho will do me. And if Calvert-Lewin's playing and fit, then it'll be probably Stones to a defensive, like you mentioned, Siyunchu. Although I could go to Maddison, so one of those. It'll be bidding a City asset off though.
Calvert-Lewin for the Friday is really awkward because I think sitting with it now, if I get there and Holding and Calvert-Lewin are both in the teams, I'd be tempted to go Holding, which means I'm holding Calvert-Lewin for coverage of 2 single game days when I'm not going to use him. Now, at some point, before we get to Arsenal-Everton, we're going to get some fixtures as well. I don't know when. It's not impossible that we get some this week, actually. It would be prudent, I think, to wait till the FA Cup semi-finals are done. So I think more likely early next week. But that's going to give us some information in terms of, for me personally and for others, I mean, Calvert-Lewin's ownership's 61%. It's going to give us the information on whether we need him as coverage for those Villa fixtures when they play Sheffield United in match week 36. We're going to get quite a chunk of the rest of the season to give us an idea of what's going to happen. And we may also find out if either of these fixtures at the end are going to move back a week and where that will open up, where certain fixtures could go.
Yeah. And whether that will obviously generate 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s, all that kind of stuff as well.
We might find all of that out possibly next week. So it could be that I end up holding him, as I've spoken about before, but I'd like to come off him because I'm looking at that as well and going, well, if I probably would maybe go Holding over Calvert-Lewin on Friday night next week, but I just fucking sell Calvert-Lewin for Iheanacho. I could sell Gundogan, in fact, Vestergaard, Gundogan, and Calvert-Lewin, and go Siyunchu, Iheanacho, and Vardy and steam into it. It's possible. But then I'd be so gutted to get to the next night if Holding's not in the Arsenal team.
Yeah. It's going to be a difficult one, but,
So I don't see me doing that. I think it's most likely I hold Calvert-Lewin for the Friday night and I'll make an assessment afterwards. And it could be that I smash into some at Liverpool, even not ideal missing a Leeds game, but looking at Liverpool the next day if I've seen the team, which I will against Newcastle, and doing that. But I want to captain Lewis Dunk again on that Saturday against Sheffield United, mate. I'm all in on Dunky Boy, mate.
You and Lewis Dunk. Should we?
What am I going to do? Captain him all these games and then not against Sheffield United?
Yeah, mad. Should we answer some of the questions that we've had in on Twitter as well?
Yeah,
James?
let's do that.
We haven't
We'll
had
obviously
any
cover
fixtures,
those
so
weekend games afterwards. Come again this time next week.
this
I think
time
this
next
time
week,
next
exactly.
week, hopefully we might have some fixtures, and I think we'll be clearer in what we're doing in terms of Leicester decisions and stuff then.
I've been through the questions fairly straightforward this week in terms of what we have. Matt Lowndes says, why do all my players keep getting injured? Just bad luck, isn't it, Matt? Unfortunately, you can't predict this kind of stuff.
Yeah. In hindsight, actually, I've been relatively lucky with them. We looked at it a couple of weeks ago in terms of how many players had lost through injuries, and it's never as many as the mind tells you that you think it was, actually. But I know some people have had some brutal luck with it, and we've all had some bad luck with injuries at some stage. If you're worried about it, don't buy players that are injury prone, like Antonio and Pulisic and these sort of players. You know it's going to come back and bite you. By the way, I didn't buy Aubameyang on Sunday. You might have noticed.
Yeah, good and glad. Phantom Mantle says, if you're trying to gain rank and have money in the bank, is Vardy the play over Iheanacho, or is Iheanacho too good to turn down? I honestly think that Iheanacho is too good to turn down for a couple of reasons. Well, I mean, we've talked about it on FPL pods previously, and you've mentioned it as well, James, that when they play as a two, it's better for Iheanacho, but worse for Vardy. He had no space and no time and nothing against us. Like I can't remember the opportunities that Vardy had to get shots off or get in behind against West Ham on Sunday, whereas Iheanacho did have a number of opportunities. And so for me, I mean, if they're going to continue playing as a two, I think it's probably Iheanacho is the one to go to. As good as Vardy has been historically, it's when he's played as a one, right?
I think we're in position now with Iheanacho where, were he to be left out, we're not talking about a dropping. We're talking about he would get it because of a rest. I.e., they might look at West Brom after, let's say, they have extra time against Southampton and go, rest. I mean, that's a possibility. What happens in that case? I think then you're forced in to go to Vardy, aren't you? But at the moment, I wouldn't. The only thing that would concern me in terms of potentially losing his place is the return of Harvey Barnes. Otherwise, I just don't have concerns about it at the moment. There is a case to say, I think if Iheanacho is in that team next Thursday, I think he will be monster ball. Even though Vardy's got more ownership now, and it's not huge, Vardy's differential himself's got like 8%, Iheanacho's 2%. I think Iheanacho will shoot out monster. I wouldn't be surprised if we looked Friday morning and Iheanacho was 50% owned. And that's why I might go for Vardy, because the money's not a problem for me either. And just go, do you know what? I'll go against it. Jamie Vardy, consistent as hell, proven for so long. What is there maybe to overlook?
That Iheanacho's in better form. And
Well,
Steve Cheek asked, do you play form or fixtures for the run and pick the form players that will start every week, or pick players based on the next set of fixtures announced for captaincy? I mean, captaincy, you've got to cover off, and especially when you get like players in the 70s, 80s, 90% ownership in the top 1,000, you kind of got to swim with that a little bit. But for me, it's not just form or fixtures, but it's potentially teams with something to play for. Like this Chelsea, Liverpool, West Ham battle for top four, chuck in Leicester and anyone else into the mix you want to. Now Fulham, West Brom, I'm not touching those players. What am I mentioning them for, to be honest? But it's around about who's got, if you need them for captaincy coverage, of course, right? You could look there. Who's got something to play for? And I don't think overlook it. Form and players that have got something to play for. Like, take another question. BB SkyFF says, after holding off on Lingard on Sunday, should I just accept defeat and put him in on Saturday, or not, because I still own Patricio? I'm like, yeah, fine. But then after the Newcastle game, yes, it's Chelsea, but there's 5 great games in the running. And if any of those West Ham match days are single game days, you're going to want to put the armband on Lingard. So I kind of think just bite the bullet and get it done, so long as you've got enough fixtures to do it.
There's an interesting point on that as well. West Ham are one of the more likely teams to have Friday, Monday night games during the running.
Europe.
Well, yeah, that's one reason. So, if they want to plan in advance what Chelsea and Liverpool are doing, if they both go through, for example, possibly going to have an influence on that. But it's also the games they've got and the importance of what's happening. So even if you look at West Ham's opponents, over say those 4 fixtures after Chelsea, Burnley, Brighton, West Brom, in theory, are still looking over their shoulder. And the other opponent, Everton, you could say because of their game in hand, they possibly still think they've got a chance of top 4 as well. So in an odd way, something like Brighton versus West Ham, which might not sound the most appealing game, is good enough for a Monday night football at the moment that will get plenty of interest if Brighton are still looking over their shoulder and stuff, if West Ham are still pushing for top 4. So, I mean, West Ham, because they've got those problem fixtures, and they are problem fixtures, i.e. in terms of Sky Captaincy coverage, they are one of the more likely teams to still be ending up with single game days as well. I don't think you'll get any information in terms of fixtures before Saturday. It's possible, but I find it unlikely. It just makes more sense to wait till the FA Cup semi-finals are done, in my opinion. Well, I said that last time when they went early, when I was talking about Europe and stuff. Yeah, there's a strong case still to buy him, though. And just accept it as one covering off. I mean, it depends what transfers you've got left. If I had 4 or 5 left now, I would maybe go no. Because you've got the Patricio coverage, and you just keep your fingers crossed that those West Ham games don't end up single game days. Because even if he goes off in one of them and gets like 30-pointer in any one of them games, gonna fuck you. It would have been worth getting him.
Do you know when the fixtures are likely to be announced, James? Because that covers quite a few of the questions that we have had.
I think there's a small chance we might get some before the weekend. And I think by some, what I mean by that is we might get an understanding of what the primary TV selections are for Premier League's match weeks 34 and 35, i.e. the Super Sunday games, if there's a Monday game, that kind of thing. I don't think we'll get to know what is happening with everything. I think next week there's a high chance. Next week we'll get at least that as a minimum. And to be honest, as next week we'll be coming into match week 33, we should know really what all of 34, 35 is going to look like before Arsenal and Everton kick off. Really, we should know what all of that's going to look like as a minimum.
We've got other questions in and around the fixtures, but we've covered all of them off. Basically, people are asking about Iheanacho here, James. And Ian Parrin's obviously asking a similar question to what we opened with around the next 11 days, not really being the time to make big ground, but just to kind of keep your powder dry and await what happens with the fixtures, which as James just mentioned, soon we will know. So let's end the pod, James, with a question from one of our patrons and regular FPL binger, Stian. I don't play Sky. So the question is this.
That's a good start.
If you could choose any mating ritual from the animal kingdom that you could use on your missus, what would it be? Personally, I'd go for the penguin, wave my arms frantically, puff out my chest, and then back my ass into her. Go.
What the fuck?
This is quite funny because you
can tell I haven't read the questions. What?
One of the things I do with the kids, my kids are 7 and 8, is of an evening, if they're like getting ready for bed or whatever, and they want to watch half an hour of telly before going to sleep, rather than watch like some trash kids programs or gamers on YouTube, I'll say, let's watch a nature documentary on like Netflix or whatever, Our Planet. And some of them are really funny and really good. And you see some of these mating rituals from different like birds that fight to mate or stuff, or do these funky dances, or have all these funny
spiders dancing and stuff. Yeah.
All sorts. There's some really, really good ones. All I'll say for my response is I'm glad that Stian didn't ask this question to my missus, because I know there's certain spiders that after the female's mated, they kill the other.
That's right.
They kill the male.
They rip off the head and stuff, don't they?
Yeah. That would be hers. Trust me, I'll tell you that.
Thanks for the shag, mate. I'm going to cut your head off now.
Yeah.
My favourite one is tortoises.
Okay, what's theirs?
You never seen them shag?
Yeah, but what's the mating ritual? Do they do anything?
Know.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying they're my favourite ones to watch shag. The straining of the neck and stuff. Obviously, this is not what I go on Pornhub looking for, by the way.
I've never watched them do. I've seen photographs, I think, of tortoises, but
you've seen it on Attenborough stuff and that, don't you? They did a really strained neck, didn't they? It's like what Peter Crouch would be like with Abby.
I'm just curious. Do you reckon they shag at the same speed as they walk? Because that'll take fucking forever.
Probably, mate. Yeah.
That'll be a two-hour movie on Pornhub.
Imagine her going, knocking him in the back. Faster, mate.
And as always, pods descend into chaos. Listeners, thank you very much for joining us for this episode of Planet Sky FF as we work towards it. James, edging closer to the top 25 and what have you. Hope you have enjoyed it. We'll be back at you next Wednesday. We might have more fixture announcements. We'll be halfway through this extra long game week, and we'll keep it moving. I'm not going to miss any captaincies this next week, James. Promise.
Oh, bet you do.
Anything to add?
No. Other than, for me, like I said, the differential might be to do nothing. Lewis Dunk is becoming the Aubameyang. He's defining what's happening to my season, basically.
Nice. Listeners, stay safe wherever you are. As mentioned earlier, we've got Clash of the Correspondents tomorrow that James plugged, and sounds like it's going to be a good one, as well as Friday is a Tottenham
Doing
special.
a Tottenham special on Friday
as well. So do stay tuned for that. Hit subscribe, notification bell, all of that other stuff. But stay safe. Ciao for now.
Good luck, everyone. Cue music, please, man.